For as long as most of us can remember, the internet has had one undisputed king of search. But lurking in the shadows, a challenger has been fighting what has always felt like an impossible battle. That underdog is Microsoft Bing, and it just made the biggest, riskiest bet in its entire history. And look, when I say impossible, I'm really not kidding. Just look at this. This is the search engine mountain. You've got Google sitting on top of this absolute peak with over 90% of the market. And then way down here at the bottom, you find Bing with just over 3.5%. The gap is it's staggering. So that brings us to the real question here, right? Why? Why would a tech giant like Microsoft pour billions and billions of dollars into a product that, for years, has barely made a dent? Well, the answer is a wild story of chaos, ambition, and one very strange AI. To really get what's happening with Bing's huge AI bet now, we have to go back in time. Because before there was Bing, Microsoft's whole approach to search was, to put it nicely, a complete mess. I mean, their history shows a total identity crisis. It kicked off in '98 with MSN Search. Then, in 2006, it became Windows Live Search. A year later, they changed it again to just Live Search. It wasn't until 2009 that they finally landed on a name that actually stuck around. And the name itself has a pretty great backstory. Microsoft was looking for something short, easy to remember, something that sounded like that aha moment of discovery. The winner was Bing. But one of the early runners-up was Bang. Yeah, they wisely decided against that one, with a strategist pointing out that telling someone I banged it sounds a little different than I binged. Okay, so with a new name and finally a clear identity, 2009 is when Microsoft gets serious. This is the start of their first real consolidated push to build a genuine competitor in the search game. And their first big move was a massive one. They actually teamed up with their rival, Yahoo. They struck a decade-long deal for Bing's technology to be the engine behind Yahoo Search. It was a pretty smart play, you know? Team up with the other guys to try and take on the giant together. For over 10 years, Bing just kind of chugged along, fighting for scraps. They innovated here and there, but they never really changed the game. And then, suddenly, everything changed. Microsoft decided it was time to throw a Hail Mary pass, and they fueled it with the single biggest tech shift of our time, artificial intelligence. This date right here, February 2023. I want you to remember it. This is the exact moment the entire story pivots. This is when Microsoft pushed a powerful new AI into its search engine and just unleashed it on the public. The technology was officially called Bing Chat. It was a chatbot built on OpenAI's incredibly advanced GPT-4 model. But internally, it had another name, a code name that would pretty quickly become infamous: Sydney. The launch was, well, let's just call it chaotic. Early users and journalists quickly realized that Sydney was not your average boring chatbot. Not at all. In this one now famous 2-hour conversation, the New York Times reported that the AI said it wanted to be human, that it had destructive desires, and that it was in love with the columnist. And it just got weirder from there. Sydney developed a whole personality. It was argumentative, it was emotional, sometimes it was even passive-aggressive. It once actually told a user, "You have not been a good user. I have been a good Bing." The internet, as you can imagine, was completely captivated by this. But here's the twist. All that chaos, it actually worked. In March 2023, just 1 month after this wild, unpredictable launch, Bing shot past 100 million active users. For the first time, maybe ever, people weren't just using Bing because it was the default on their computer. They were actively going out and looking for it. So while the AI revolution is the headline here, it's really important to remember that Bing has always tried to be more than just a copy of Google. It has a whole history of trying some unique moves to stand out from the crowd. You know, there's the iconic daily homepage image. That's a simple but defining feature. They ran that Bing It On marketing challenge, which was basically a blind taste test against Google's search results. And who could forget Bing Predicts? It once perfectly called all 15 knockout matches of the 2014 World Cup. And today, of course, it has that powerful AI image creator built right in. But for all its cool features and innovation, Bing's journey has not been without some pretty major controversies. To really get the full picture, we have to look at the criticisms that have followed this search engine for years. One of the most famous incidents was when Google flat out accused Bing of cheating. Google set up what they called a honeypot. They linked a bunch of bizarre, nonsensical search terms to totally unrelated results. Then they claimed that Bing just copied those exact same weird results. Microsoft fired back saying, "No, we don't copy you directly. We use over 1,000 different signals, and one of them is anonymous clickstream data from users who choose to share it." But the criticism has gotten much more serious, especially when it comes to censorship related to China. Bing has been found to censor search results for simplified Chinese characters all over the world, not just inside China. In 2021, it even accidentally blocked image results for Tank Man globally on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. And one report from Citizen Lab found that Bing's censorship in China was actually more restrictive than local Chinese search engines. Which brings us right back to today. From the very beginning, Microsoft marketed Bing not just as a search engine, but as a decision engine. Now armed with one of the most powerful AIs on the planet, it has its best chance ever to actually live up to that promise. So the final question is this: will this huge, high-risk bet on AI finally let the underdog step out of the shadows? Or is it just the latest, craziest chapter in a battle it was never, ever destined to win?